day, sir. Good day, classmates. I am your reporter for today. My report is the continuation of the topic about the stages in child development. Infancy is the first stage and it is already explained by my co-reporter. Now let us proceed to the next stage, which is the early childhood. 3 to 8 years old is a period of life with slow growth and rapid development. Most psychologists label this stage as the exploratory and questioning stage since the children enjoy discovering new things in their surroundings. Interaction with family and the people around them will help shape their development. In this stage, children learn to explore and discover new things by means of asking questions to older ones and perform more interaction is done in this stage. So, in the next slide, you can see in the table 2, in table 5.2, typical and atypical development during early childhood. So, under these domains are physical, socio-emotional, and language and cognitive. So we'll go back to physical. So the typical and atypical. So typical means normal developmental milestones or growth of a child. Atypical also means do not follow the normal developmental milestones of a child, or it could be earlier or later. So atypical is the complete opposite of typical. So in physical, children runs well, climbs easily, hops and stands on one foot, can use toilet on his or her own. So children are involved in a range of activities that support the development of their motor skills. Physical development growth occur about 2 years earlier in girls than boys. So while in atypical, children falls down often, children needs help in physical activities. Next is in socio-emotional. So in socio-emotional, it refers to children's mental health, emerging capacity to experience, regulate, and express range of emotions, develop close satisfying relationships with other children and adults, actively explore their environment, and learn. So under the typical, children shows affection, takes turns in games, cooperates with other children, shows concern and sympathy, shows more independence. So under in atypical, does not want to play with others, children usually withdrawn. Next is language. So language, it is where children's ability to produce language also flourish in an amazing way. Children move beyond using 2-word sentences and started to learn. Under in atypical, children follows 2 or 3-step instructions, uses pronouns, tells and retells stories, speaks clearly. So, while under in atypical has unclear speech, can tell stories articulately. So as you can see, in atypical, it is the opposite of what happened to children under in typical. Last is the cognitive. It is where the process involving thought, rationale, and perception. It also includes building skills such as pre-reading, language, vocabulary, and numeracy. So under in typical, children plays make-believe, works with simple toys, names colors and numbers, draws a person, names letters, shows development of mental skills. While in atypical, children does not play with simple toys or make-believe, and children loses skills once had. next stage in stages in child development is the middle childhood. It is between 9 to 11 years old. It is a stage that brings various changes in a child's life. Independence is a characteristic that children in this stage asserts. Developing friendships is another milestone that is evident in this stage. Children should be given more tasks to develop their sense of responsibility to further develop their growing independence. So in this stage, children will able to learn and develop their responsibilities and grow being independent. Children will also experience several changes in their body, or shall I say they will experience puberty and become more conscious of their looks and in choosing their friends. So in next is the table. In table 5.3, under also in typical and atypical development during middle childhood. So there is physical and social-emotional. So in physical, children's strength, motor skills, and stamina increase. Children perform complex movement, participate in a variety of physical activities. Under the typical, children growth spurt may take place, becomes clumsy, increased in appetite, while in atypical has limited mobility. So let's proceed to socio-emotional. Socio-emotional entails the acquisition of skills for expressing and regulating emotion and managing social relationship. Under the typical, children form stronger friendships, becomes aware of body changes due to puberty, shows more concern about looks, may feel stressed about schoolworks. While under in atypical, children has difficulty making and keeping friends. So that is all about my report. And the language and cognitive under the middle childhood will be explained by Miss Labam. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening and I hope you learn from my report.